Hello and welcome everyone to our first June podcast in Agile Boston. I'm Joe DeAngelis and I am so excited to be here with Patricia Kong from Scrum.org, co-author of this great book that we're going to talk about now called Unlocking Business Agility with Evidence-Based Management. Oh, she has a copy too. You should all have a copy. Uh, and uh, and yeah, we're going to talk about this event that we have coming up on Thursday, June 6th at the Microsoft building in Burlington, Mass. So Patricia, I'm happy that you're here.
Thanks for having me. I love that you said Agile Boston and not Agile Boston. Which we're both allowed to do because we're both from Boston.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that I'm from Boston. I don't accentuate the accent. Okay, so Patricia, thank you for accepting our invitation to come in person to this event. It's our first in-person event, our large in-person event since Give Thanks for Scrum 2023 in the same space, the Microsoft building. And tell us a little bit about evidence-based management. I know you've been working with it for several years.
Yeah, so evidence-based management is something at Scrum.org that I've been at Scrum.org for, I don't know, 11 years, 12 years. And it's something like the genesis of it started back then. And it was actually known as a continuous improvement framework that Ken Schwaber started. And we can talk, more probably at length about his ideas when we're at the meetup. But it's something that we have really nurtured. The community's really worked on. We've been developing it and inspecting and adapting it and making a lot of changes. We actually just updated the EBM guide a month ago or 2 months ago. I can't remember right now.
And that's available on the Scrum.org website, right?
Right, that's on the
Yep.
Scrum.org website. So that's been updated. People are working on the translations all around the world. But evidence-based management is really like my baby, my ugly baby. And we just wanted, I mean, to be frank, it's just something that we want to be helpful to the individuals and the teams and the organizations. Because I mean, Joe, all the stuff right now in the conversation about like Scrum is dead, Agile is dead, all those things. This is really why evidence-based management has been a crux of what Ken believed in and what we believed in for so long.
Yeah, and it really lines up to what the Scrum guide says that Scrum is founded on, which is empirical process and lean thinking, right? It kind of ties right into that.
100%, 100%. We would actually say, so my colleague Kurt Bittner would actually say that evidence-based management is almost a very lean version. And if you need Scrum, then you use Scrum. Probably shouldn't be saying that on the record, but yes, I feel comfortable. It's almost like Scrum is an instantiation of EBM. That's how he would talk about it, where the focus of EBM is very much value focused and on empiricism and goals.
So we had the pleasure of having you speak at Give Thanks for Scrum before the pandemic, and you gave a special session on evidence-based management. We've also had Todd Miller and Ryan Ripley, who are your colleagues at Scrum.org. They presented during the pandemic for Give Thanks for Scrum. So how did the four of you, including Kurt Bittner, I don't want to forget him, how did the four of you get together, and what was your purpose of writing this book?
Oh, goodness. So at Scrum.org, I actually met Todd Miller before he was a trainer at one of our classes. And we just had a great relationship talking about some of the client engagements and his work, and as he's changed in his career about what's going on. And he's really close with Ryan, and they've been doing good stuff. And they have a book called it's like Fix Your Scrum. And
Yeah,
so
one of my favorite books. Yep.
Excellent book, right? So we kind of talk about what are the problems that are going on and why are they still the same as we've been seeing them for the past 10 years and all that stuff. So we have those great conversations, and Kurt and I have been talking about enterprise, methods, frameworks, and all that stuff at Scrum.org for a long, long time. And we're both have a research background from Forrester research. So we've been talking about these things, and then we were like, all the things that we want to say that you can't necessarily get out of a course, what would those be? And how could we give people a little bit more how to and direction? And that's really the crux of the book. And it was the pandemic. So we were just writing. That was really it.
Have a lot of extra time.
Yeah. So I don't know, extra time, but we're like, let's keep as busy as possible. So it was kind of that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's one of my favorite books, to be honest with you. Fixing Your Scrum is another great book. Highly recommend it. Also, Zombie Scrum is another great book. They all kind of tie around the same things. Why aren't companies achieving real business agility by using Agile and Scrum? And I think as an industry, I think we've been focusing on the wrong things in terms of Agile and Scrum. Would you agree with that? And we're not focusing on the foundational things that really these things were developed for?
I think, and you and I have had a conversation about this, it's just that we've gotten far and things have gotten trendy and things have become buzzy. And now even Agile is buzzy and it's theoretical and it doesn't work. And so it's, their Scrum does look at the process of how do we get that in, the artifact inspect, how do we get the increment? And people would still be saying, yeah, these things are going really well. Scrum is doing that, but they actually don't always have that increment at the end of the sprint to inspect and adapt, right? And so though there's that kind of thing that's happening with Scrum and everybody's going, this doesn't work, as long as we kind of have great conversations. But then on the other hand, when we were thinking about EBM, it was really about knowing what value is or where could we just try to improve first? And how do we look at what we should be measuring, which is really important, which is what I did a workshop on before, because it's just been the same thing. So we can't really say we're getting more agile or better at anything when we can't have that conversation about what are we measuring? How do we know we're getting better? And looking at the evidence that we have.
Yeah, no, very, very good point. And we just had Kim Antello talk to us in May, and that's what she talked about. She talked about heart metrics and
Yeah.
ARD metrics and all these things that you have to think about up front, not just what is our goal, which a lot of companies actually don't have. But once we have our goal, how do we know whether we've achieved it? How are we going to measure this? And thinking about that up
Yeah.
front.
Yeah.
So we are going to have a packed house on Thursday at the Microsoft building, 5 Wayside Drive in Burlington, Mass. We're going to see you in person. We're going to see Ripley and Todd Miller in person as well. Kurt can't be here, unfortunately, but we'll have 3 out of the 4 of you in person. They'll be excited to be there. What can people expect as they come to the event?
So I would hope that people would be excited to come and just interact with us in person. So we want this to be very interactive, Q&A. If you've read something from their other books, Todd and Ryan, ask those questions. If you have questions about EBM, all those things, let's talk about that. I have a couple other books that I've written. If you have questions about scaling, facilitation, all these things, let's put those all out, and we're happy to help, because I feel like people are losing a little bit of direction and just reading whatever they can on Google. Not to say that we know everything, but I think it'd be great discussion, and we'd be happy to talk about some of the examples, for instance, of EBM in the field, what we're seeing with clients right now. We're running at organizations. Obviously, we'll talk about the origins of EBM, how it came to be, a little bit of, what we were thinking about when we were writing the book, why we wrote it the way that we did, if people are interested, and then how to read this book, because this book, you don't have to read it from front to back. It's really, in terms of dealing with an organization, it's say, oh, I have this problem I want to understand. Let's go to chapter 4. It's meant to be read that way. So we can talk a little bit about that too.
It's to be read as a continued reference.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's fantastic. So again, everyone, the book is called Unlocking Business Agility with Evidence-Based Management. Patricia is the co-author of this book, and you'll have a chance, if you come to this event on Thursday, to see her in person, ask as many questions as you like within the time that we have, and also meet Todd and Ryan as well. So Patricia, I want to thank you again for all of what you do at scrum.org, what you do for the Agile community, what you've done for Agile Boston, and what you continue to do for Agile Boston and the local community. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And everyone, we'll see you very soon. Until then.
Thank you.